We're looking at multiplication, and multiplication is a shortcut for repeated addition. So if we have 12 plus 12 plus 12, it's the same as saying we have 3 times 12. The numbers that we multiply together are called factors, and so 3 and 12 are factors, and the answer is called the product, so 36 is the product. In this example, 6 and 3 are factors, 18 is the product. Here we have 5, 2, and 7 are the factors, and the product is 70. Next, we look at some properties of multiplication. So the commutative property says we can change the order of the factors and it does not affect the product. The associative property says the manner in which the factors are grouped under multiplication does not affect the product. So the quantity A times B times C is equal to A times the quantity B times C. And we're going to, in example 2, rewrite this expression 3 times 9 using the commutative property, and then we'll find the product. So 3 times 9 is equal to 9 times 3, and the product is 27. Here we're going to rewrite the expression the quantity 4 times 2 times 3 using the associative property of multiplication, and then we will find the product. So the quantity 4 times 2 times 3 equals 4 times the quantity 2 times 3. So here we have 8 times 3, which is 24, and 4 times 6 is also 24. The multiplication property of 0 tells us that if we multiply any number times 0, our product is equal to 0. The multiplication property of 1 says that if we multiply any number times 1, we get that number. The distributive property says that when we take A times the quantity B plus C, we can multiply twice. We can multiply A times B, and then we can multiply A times C, and we can add that together. So here's an example of the distributive property. We're going to multiply 3 times 4, and then we're going to multiply 3 times 8, and then we're going to add those products together. 12 and 24 is 36. Next, we'll look at multiplying digit whole numbers. So when we have 368 times 5, first we multiply 5 times 8, then we multiply 5 times 6, then we multiply 5 times 3. So 5 times 8 is 40. I write the 0 and I put the 4 up here. Now I multiply 5 times 6, which is 30, and I add 4, giving me 34. And here I multiply 5 times 3, which is 15, and add 3, and I get 18. When I multiply a 2-digit by 2-digit number, first I multiply by the 3 times 2, and 3 times 7, and I start my product underneath the 3. So 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 7 is 21. Now I'm going to multiply by the 8. I'm going to start my product under the 8, so I can put a 0 to hold this place here. I do 8 times 2 and then 8 times 7. 8 times 2 is 16. I write the 6 and I carry the 1. 8 times 7 is 56 plus 1 is 57. And then I add these two partial products together to get my product. Next, I'm going to estimate products by rounding. So to estimate the product of 795 times 4060, we're going to round 795 to the nearest hundred, and that gives me 800. And then I'm going to multiply 4060 to its largest place, the nearest thousand, which gives me 4000. And now I'm going to take a shortcut. I'm going to multiply 8 times 4, which is 32, and I'm going to tack on the same number of zeros that I have in the factors. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros, giving me 3,200,000. Okay, some of our translations, when we see the word product, the product of 4 and 7 means 4 times 7, 8 times 4. We can use this dot for multiplication. Multiply 6 times 3. Example 9, the average weekly income for production workers is $489. How much does a production worker make in 1 year? So if each week they make $489, in 52 weeks, we're going to multiply 489 times 52 to get 25,428. And finally, we use multiplication to find area of a rectangle. So the area measures the amount of surface contained within the region. So for example, a square that's 1 inch by 1 inch occupies an area of 1 square inch. So when we multiply inch times inch, we get this inch to the second power, which is square inches. 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter gives us an area of 1 square centimeter. The area of a rectangle is found by multiplying length times width. A, L, and W are called variables because their values can vary as they're replaced by different numbers. Find the area and the perimeter of this rectangle. So we'll start with area being length times width. 7 yards times 4 yards is 28 square yards. The perimeter of the rectangle is found by adding the lengths of all the sides. So we have the area of this triangle is 7 yards times 4 yards. The area is going to be 28 square yards, but the perimeter is 7 yards plus 4 yards plus 7 yards plus 4 yards. So my perimeter is 22 yards. And again, the area is 28 square yards. Notice area gives us square units and perimeter is just plain yards, linear units.